What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have an awesome episode for you guys here today. We're going to be talking about the highly anticipated Airbnb IPO and how we think it has a ton of potential for growth. So for those of you who don't know what an IPO is it's the time when a private company becomes a public company. And they do this through the form of selling shares of their company to the public. So in simple terms, an IPO is when a private company gets listed on the stock market and you can invest in them. And this helps both the company because it helps raise capital for the underlying company, but it also helps investors because you could invest in these companies. We're going to be talking about a couple different IPOs in a minute here, but you can invest in these companies and make money off of them. And of course, lose money too. But if we look at some recent IPOs this year, like Tom has pulled up right now, Lemonade actually IPO'd this year. They IPO'd around $50 and ran up to 96. We could look at another one like Palantir, PLTR, went from $10 to $33. We have Snow, it went from 245 to 400. We have U, 75 to 150. DraftKings, $20 to 65. And then CRSR, which went from about 15 to $51. And these are just some recent IPOs, but Airbnb is about to IPO. So I think it's notable to check these out. But let's get right into Airbnb's IPO. So Tom, what is Airbnb all about and what do they do?
Yeah, Airbnb is actually a pretty sensational company that allows consumers to rent houses from people while they travel with a lot of innovation. And like, let's say you want to travel to Florida for vacation, kind of like I have pulled up here, you can just go on Airbnb and schedule to rent somebody's house out for about 5 days, just like a hotel. You can pretty much choose any time frame that you want to. You could just rent it for 1 day or like 10 days if you wanted. You can really pick whatever you want. Plus, the prices are pretty good. You can see that I have them up right here, and you can stay in Florida for about $95 a night right here. Here's a house in Orlando that looks like it's on a lakefront for $109. So the prices are pretty good on this, and it's a great service for both the travelers and the renters, opening up a really good marketplace for people to make money on properties that they currently aren't living at or using. And a lot of people actually do rent their houses out, but this makes the process very easy and streamlined for both parties.
Yeah, they have an awesome business model. Like you said, it helps both the people who are putting their properties on Airbnb, but it also helps the consumer who uses the property. So they're actually, most of the times, Airbnbs are cheaper than hotels too, and they also give a lot more privacy to the consumer than a hotel would. So I think, especially with COVID and all the everything going on right there, I think that would definitely benefit Airbnb because people they don't want to be around everyone else. I feel like consumers are looking for a lot more privacy now, and I think Airbnb would really benefit from that. And at the same time, it's not like the properties on Airbnb are bad. Like, a lot of them are very they're very nice and they're well kept and they're very popular too. And Airbnb is just getting more and more popular. So in terms of a business model, it's really good, and I think it has a lot of potential to grow even more.
Yeah, and with that being said, you can see that this is going to actually be their gross dollars with experience booked and their stays combined. So you can see that it hit around $30 million back in 2019. And then whenever COVID hit, it really ended up falling off down to this $10 million level. And then it actually started rising back up. And right now you can see that it's starting to dip back down a little bit. But that is kind of expected as we see more COVID cases increase. But just keep in mind that they are a pretty fantastic company. And also the bookings went from $8.7 million to $28.3 million from April to July this year. So that was a big boost in bookings. And then also the pandemic put a pretty big dent in their revenue. They're down from they're only at $2.5 billion in revenue this year through September 30th, down from $3.7 billion in September of 2019. So they are down, but the thing is that their bookings are starting to come back from the virus.
Gotcha. And most, especially IPO and tech companies, most companies lose money when they IPO, especially tech companies recently. And Airbnb has historically lost money. But what's very interesting, it's also great news, is they actually reported a profit in the third quarter of 2020 even with everything going on with this pandemic. And I think that's huge. And look, they reported profit of $220 million even with the pandemic going on. So I think that's huge. And I think it's a really good sign for the company. And they've also been investing a lot in safety, marketing, and just other technology costs, which I think is going to really pay off for them in the long term. I really like how they're focusing on safety and just screening the people who are putting their properties, listing them on Airbnb. I think that's going to be very beneficial to them for the long term.
Yeah, and the people who put their houses actually on Airbnb, they earn an average of $7,900 a year per host. So that's actually not bad just for people coming into your house maybe once, maybe twice a month you might get a booking, but that all adds up over a year to like $8,000. And imagine if you had quite a few bookings that you were also like renting out during the summer to other people and stuff while it wasn't listed on there. So it really gives renters a lot of different options, I think, and that's going to really help housing as well.
And that's what I love about Airbnb is because look at they benefit the consumer because it gives them a nice, well-kept, private place to vacation, which is usually cheaper than a hotel. And at the same time, it benefits the person listing their house. They can make some great income off of it. I think I love the business model, and I think it just has a lot of room for growth.
For sure. And they already have 5.6 million listings worldwide. They operate in 100,000 cities. They operate in more than 220 countries. They have more than 4 million hosts, and they've served more than 8 million guests. So there's definitely a lot of potential for growth, and it's a huge industry. And also this Airbnb stuff, a lot of younger people like to travel and do that stuff, so I think that's going to be a big hit, especially like since there's apps on the phone for it and just tons of different avenues that you can use with it. And I think that that's really going to help a lot of travelers. And also like we mentioned, it's really cheap, like it's 140 a night, and you can see how nice that this house really is. Like this must be a pretty expensive house actually whenever it's fully built, and this is in Naples, Florida, so it's not like it's in a bad area either.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I think they have a lot of potential to disrupt a massive industry, which is a travel and hospitality industry. And I think what will also benefit them a lot in the long term is remember when Uber first started, and they're known for being a ride sharing company, right? But then they also added little things like Uber Eats and just like other small additions. Like I think Airbnb has a ton of potential to add just little like small things like that to just even produce more streams of income. So overall on Airbnb, I'm really liking them as a company. I like their business model, and even with COVID and everything happening, I think the fact that they produced a profit in the third quarter of 2020 is huge. So Tom, what are you thinking in terms of price? Like, what's your plan with Airbnb? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Airbnb could have a ton of different options. Like, it could actually do almost what Uber did, an IPO and slightly run up and then end up falling over the next year or two. Or it could be more like DraftKings and pretty much IPO and then instantly pop all the way up to $60. But really, I mean, I think if it IPOs and pops, I'm not sure how much it's going to pop. I would think that it would pop, I would want to say like 50% or something like that, just given like what DraftKings and other companies have done. But to me, I think the biggest factor right now with their IPO is going to be the coronavirus. So if there's a bunch of shutdowns, I think that that's going to really hurt them whenever they start to IPO. Obviously, whenever they IPO, if there's a ton of volume coming in, they might IPO like for the first few days or for the first few months, kind of like Uber did. But then if something bad happens, like we don't see airlines traveling anymore, or we don't see a ton of travel again, I think that'll definitely send Airbnb back to the downside, which would be very unfortunate for that newly IPO company. But I think that they have a lot of potential to go up though, and I hope that that's what happens. But really right now, I think the main thing is with the virus. I really want to see how the cruise line stocks do, how the airline stocks do, and then also how Airbnb moves compared to those other stocks, because it's almost like that they're a travel company too. So I would think that they would move similarly to those other ones.
Awesome. So IPOs are extremely volatile. There's no accurate way to predict exactly what they're going to do in the short term, but in the long term, I do like them. Like literally anything can happen in the short term, and just expect a lot of volatility. There's a lot of hype around this IPO, so you just have to expect it. Anything can happen. If you're kind of feeling like I like Airbnb for the long term, but I'm just not sure what they're going to do in the short term, then maybe considering like a dollar cost averaging approach where you buy in a little bit when it IPOs, and you buy in a little bit a month later, and then you just slowly buy more over time. Because look, at no one can time the market perfectly. Not even Warren Buffett, who's been trading for 70 years and is worth like $70 billion. He can't even time the market perfectly. No one can. So I think dollar cost averaging will probably be the way to go, which is just buying a little bit into the company over time. So overall, I'm very excited for this IPO. I'm definitely going to have my eyes on them, especially for the next couple months. So Tom, do you have any closing thoughts, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, the last closing thing I just wanted to talk about was possibly they could move something similar to XP or EXPE, which is actually Expedia. And I think that, obviously Expedia does a lot of stuff with airlines where you can integrate a whole travel deal with like a hotel, airlines, and even like your rental car and stuff like that. And I think that Airbnb, like you said, they have a lot of potential to kind of do things similarly to almost like Expedia. And then they're also helping out renters. So it's just one of those IPOs that I honestly, personally, I truly like it, especially for the long term. But it's just like I said, though, I think that the main thing to look out for right now is the virus. And if the virus starts shutting a bunch of things down, and specifically starts shutting down travel, then I think it's going to hurt them in the short term.
Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Comments and likes really help grow our channel, and we really appreciate it. So if you guys could leave a little comment down below or hit that like button, Tom and I would really appreciate it. And if you aren't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe. Tom and I post stock market videos every single day. If you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thanks for watching.